It's a Sisyphean struggle. You go up one step, you fall back two. But you never give up. But the frustration is terrible. Sometimes you want to give up. But the truth is so glaring that you just can't give up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome. The learning this evening has been dedicated as an Aliyas Neshama for the late Reb Meir ben Reb Shlomo Zichrono Livrocha, the late Koki Feldman. His Neshama should have an Aliyah, and we wish the family much continued chizuk and nechama. It is most appropriate to mention a very big mazel tov as well to the Feldman family on the birth of a granddaughter to Sean and Donna Feldman, to Yoni and to Tova Lazarus. Please God, they should be zoiche. We should be zoiche to see the child to Torah Chuppah and Maasim Toivim. Most importantly, we should please God only share in simchas. This evening is very special to me on a personal note as a result of the tremendous contribution that and impact that Rav Blachman has had on my life on a personal level. Over and above that, his contribution to our wonderful base community is beyond extensive. And the truth is that our community would not be what it is without his tremendous partnership, support, and influence over very many years. And so I thank him, and I thank his Rebbetzin, and I thank his family for all that they have done and continue to do. On behalf of Rabbi Mofson and myself, the Arch and the base community, it is heartwarming to see how many hundreds of people are in attendance to learn Torah once again. I would also like to extend again a very big thank you to my dear brother Moshe for all that he does in promoting Torah, in facilitating these webinars that have truly changed our lives. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Rav Blachman.
Good evening. Once again, a pleasure teaching you at the base. It's always a very personal pleasure. I want to thank Rabbi Zilberg for all the great thing he has done, is doing, and probably will be doing a long time to go to change the face of religion and Yiddishkeit in South Africa. They also obviously thanking Rabbi Mufson, my dear friend Rabbi Mufson, for being part of this, encouraging this, and being instrumental in this. What would Johannesburg be without him? I thank him. I thank you very, very, very much. I also want to thank Moshe Zilberg for engaging in this in this activity of recording and videos, etc. What would the world be without you today? I mean, we can actually communicate with each other, something which is quite hard, especially from Israel. Okay. We are entering into a holiday, Purim, which to me has always been very challenging and quite perplexing. It's a very complicated day. A lot of it seemingly makes no sense. Quite barbaric, to say the least. One thinks about it. You know, people go to shul on Purim night, That's when everybody comes with the kids. And as soon as they hear the word Haman, all pandemonium comes out, and it's a frenzy, and they make noise and they scream. And I wonder, what is this? What are people doing? Are they angry at anybody? Like, you ask anybody there, do you have a problem with Haman? Oh, well, he actually tried to destroy my ancestors a few thousand years ago, and you're still angry? I think you're lying. I don't believe it's the truth. And neither do they. Somehow it seems to be a day of an excuse to acting like a child at the best. What is this? Why is this meaningful? Worse than that, what are we celebrating? That thank God we were not destroyed X amount of years ago. And actually, Esther wanted another day. We wanted to butcher a few more hundreds of people. And that's why in Purim this year in Jerusalem, we have 3 days. We have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we want to commemorate another 500 fellows nicked. That's really very beautiful. Honestly, very challenging to my Western palate, to say the least. You know, what is this? What is this mitzvah of destroying Amalek? It seems to be hating Amalek. I'm not sure I can really relate to it. And year by year, every time I have to try and understand it again, it's not easy. Sometimes I'm jealous of the people which would be somewhat of a flathead, not thinking what they're doing and using it as an excuse to get bombed. You know what I mean? Act like I always wanted to, like a child. You know what I mean? Say stupid jokes, off color, etc. I promise you that has nothing to do with religion. Those people actually do need a psychologist. They're expressing vented feelings which have nothing to do with religion. What did Chazal, what did our rabbis want us to think about on Purim? What is the avodas Hashem on Purim? There was a famous Rambam where the Rambam writes in Hilchos Yom Tov that when we drink wine on Yom Tov, make sure you don't get drunk and inebriated. Because God never commanded us to be a fool. He only commanded us to be happy. And getting drunk is not happiness. It's sichlus v'hailulus. It's empty-headed, foolish behavior. Rambam says that there's no such thing as avodas Hashem in that mode of behavior. And yet somehow there's some kind of an idea of Chayiv Adam L'Psum B'Puria Ad Lo Yada Ben Orma L'Baruch Mordechai. Seems to be some kind of avodas Hashem once a year only, in a certain level of inebriation, which the poskim say only its limit is, will you still be able to continue and focus on praising God of the bracha of Mordechai and the klala of Haman. As soon as you walk away from focusing on that idea, you've become a fool, and that's not part of the commandments. What is this mitzvah of taking, one would say, a chemical inducement to enhance your feelings of Or Haman and Baruch Mordechai? Praising God for Mordechai, for the redemption, and being vengeant on Haman. I'm not even angry at him. There are a lot of people that want to destroy us in history. I haven't seen anybody, screaming as soon as they say the name Adolf Hitler. They should take groggers out and go like this all day. I don't see it. I don't see it when people think about Torquemada. I don't think when people talk about the Crusaders. I don't see it. And somehow poor good old Haman and his 10 kids They even have a song on his last son, Vaizata. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? How does this have any religious significance to me today, to you, to all of us? Which starts here, as you know, like last week we read Parshat Zachor. Shabbos, which we read the Kriyat Torah, we read in the Torah Laning, for those who had the pleasure of finally coming back to Shul, of the remembering the attack that Amalek, our good cousin, the grandson of Esav, attacked us when we left Egypt, came all the way from the mountains east of Eilat to near Gaza, near Nachal Mitzrayim, that's where we were. He crossed the Sinai Peninsula, I don't even know if he found out about it, to attack us. And God seems to be very angry at that, and because of that, we are commanded to eradicate this nation. Now, that is something which is very challenging. Do you realize that the mitzvah is, I just want to read it inside in the Rambam, Tzivanu, we are commanded lahachrit, to eradicate Zera Amalek, the seed of Amalek. Now, this includes Zecharim, males, Ktan Nikevot, females, Ktanim, children, Ugdolim, and adults. Timche et Zecha Amalek. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't know how to do it. Do you really think that you or I could possibly take a knife and slit the throat of a child just because his father and mother are from Amalek? Wouldn't work. And if I would have to do it, I would probably lose my mind the minute I did it. If that isn't challenging, I don't know what challenging is. If this is the mitzvah, I guess it's more like morah than the matzah. It's super bitter, incomprehensible, barbaric. I'm quite happy that this mitzvah does not apply today, simply because we can't find them. I mean, can you imagine we'd open up some, we have this big convocation of all the Jews getting together in Met Field or City Field in New York, that they find one little old 90-year-old Amalek with the hechsher of the Eidah Charedit, some kind of a hechsher. Everyone's agreed. Finally, we have an Amalek with the shir of the Chaznish. And what are we going to do? We're actually going to kill this old man? I probably would not join. And I'm hoping you wouldn't either. So what's it all about? What are you talking about? Would you really do it? I repeat again, I'm quite happy that that practically does not exist. God had compassion and understands that for who we are today, formed by society and history, we couldn't do it. And that's why there'll never be one again, unless we culturally change. At the moment, I'm not looking forward for it. But there is another mitzvah, and that is the mitzvah of Kriyas HaTorah of Zocher She'aseh Lecha Amalek, which is something which we're commanded on. Now, today, you in Johannesburg, me in Jerusalem, and we fulfilled it, so to speak, on Shabbos, and then I really wondered, did we really fulfill it? I want to read the mitzvah to you. It's in the book of mitzvahs of Maimonides, Mitzvahs Aseh, Positive Commandment 189. Rama writes that Sivanu, we've been commanded Lishkor, to remember Masha Salano Amalek, that which Amalek did to us. Bagdimo Laharei Alon, he came on his own initiative, out of nowhere, but first of all, to do us evil, to war with us and want to destroy us. Shenemar, as the Vishenomar B'chol 8 ve'et, we must constantly say this and tell ourselves the story. We should awaken the feelings in people, b'mamarim, through words, lilachembo, to fight him, battle him. V'nizarei za'am lisno oto, and we must teach the people that they must be full of venom and hate him. Ad shelo tishkachach hamitzvah, lest we forget this mitzvah of warring with him. V'lo tichalesh sinato, and the venom and the hate that we feel should never be weakened. And this is the mitzvah of Zachor et Asher Asa Lecha Amalek. Do you realize, according to Maimonides, the mitzvah is not just to read a parsha in the Torah, but it's like a pep talk before a serious rugby game, when the coach says, "Eat them, chew their ears off, kill them." You're supposed to be walking out of shul saying, almost like a pirate with your dagger in your teeth saying, "Where is he?" And then you'd probably be frustrated because you can't find one. I must say the honest truth, if this is what the mitzvah is, I never fulfilled it in my life. I don't even know what hate is. Have any of you experienced hate? I've experienced jealousy, anger, vengeance. Oh yeah, those are normal feelings. I never experienced hate. Hate to the degree of wanting to kill somebody? Hate to the degree that I was willing to kill a 1-day-old baby? I don't even know what hate means. Oh, I encountered hate. I'll never forget this. I was a young bachur. Wow, it must have been 12 years old. It was on the holiday of Shavuot. And I was walking in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, actually on Empire Boulevard. I still remember this. Going towards a group of people which had been going to teach Torah in other neighborhoods. I came a bit late, so I was a straggler. And suddenly I heard a sound say, "Hey, Jew boy." I turned around, and what I met was a fist in my face. And he was typically punched me in this face, this resident of the neighborhood, and just walked away. I was lost. I didn't understand. It wasn't the pain, it was the feeling of, why would you do this to me? Why do you hate me? That was a hate crime. I don't think I ever met it again. I definitely have never experienced it. And yet here it is. We're not supposed to hate anybody. Nobody. Even the Zion Umas, these 7 nations we were supposed to destroy because they were terrible sinners, we were never commanded to hate them. We're never commanded to hate anybody. Even the pasuk in Tehillim, which describes that David says he hates the sinners. So Chazal say, no. It means he hates the sinners of the sinners. Oh, yes, I hate sin, maybe. That at least I can relate to. But the sinner? No. The halacha is, if you see a person which is a terrible rasha, but he has a flat tire, you have to stop your car and help him. If he has his donkey is laden on with heavy weights and he never can't move, you have to help him unload. It's a Gemara in Bava Metzia, Daf Lamed Beis, Amid Beis. And the Taisa says, you know why? If you have a nice tzaddik next to this person, you should first help this person, the evil one. You know why? Because you have to send a message. I love you as a person. I just can't deal with your sins. And you have to tell him that. And therefore, if you have to help the wicked or the righteous first help the wicked. That's the halacha. It should never be a sin'ah gemura, total venom and hate. The only person or the only nation we are commanded to hate is Amalek. Now, God help me. I don't know who they are. I never met them. This happened thousands of years ago. And there are a lot of people that want to destroy me. For goodness sakes, what is it I'm supposed to hate and I don't even know how to hate? And this is Le'eg Bizman Hazeh. This is a mitzvah which we have to do today. You're actually supposed to feel that all year round. The whole idea of Mikra Megillah, of reading the Megillah, the Gemara says in Masechtas Megillah, they added it to the Holy Writ, to the Kitvei HaKodesh, because it's a way of remembering the story of Amalek and teaching you that you must destroy him. One Megillah. The reason that Megillah Esther is part of Kitvei HaKodesh, because it is an expression of Zechiras Maaseh Amalek. Equals, you're supposed to walk out of the Megillah, let's get them. Come on. We have a problem. We have a terrible problem here. Sometimes I think that the only justification for being inebriated in Purim, it's so frustrating, I don't know how to do it, I'd rather get drunk. You know, I always felt that that's why Noah got drunk as soon as he walked out of the ark. When he realized that, God, all of society depends on me, he ran away, he got himself drunk. Many people run away because they shoulder heavy responsibilities. But that was also a sin. And obviously that's not what this is here, because no Torah wants you to run away from challenges. Running away from something is not a solution. Rambam describes when you see a person drunk, think of him as if he's walking around nude in the street. He sees him as an animal. Rambam writes this. Osher ben Yechiel in his Orchos Chaim the Rosh writes the same thing. It's disgusting. But yet somehow there's this idea of drinking on Purim. Is it connected to this religious frustration that I've described? Somehow I think it is. Here, let me try to explain this to a certain extent. You know, out of the whole 613 mitzvos that we have, there's roughly 60 which are applicable in our times today. Most of the most mitzvos have to do with Eretz Yisrael, when all the Jews will be living in Eretz Yisrael, all the laws of the tithes, Truma, Maaser, even Shemitah, which is coming up next year, is only a rabbinic Shemitah because we don't have most of the Jews living in our homeland. Hate to say it, but due to assimilation, it may actually end up not pretty soon we are going to have most of the Jews living in the homeland. I just hope it happens because of good things, not because of what I just mentioned. But in the meantime, we don't have it. We don't have these mitzvos. We don't have the mitzvahs of the Beis Hamikdash. We don't have the mitzvahs dealing with the king. We don't have the mitzvahs dealing with Tum'ah and Ta'ara, except for Nida. That's the bulk of mitzvahs. So many mitzvahs that we don't fulfill today. And the obvious question is, are they just there in theory, or is there a way of fulfilling them? Well, the Sefer Akedat Yitzchak, in what we call the 51st gate, Shar Nun Aleph, tells us the following. He says it is very worthy and important to delve into the depth of mitzvot, in their pshat, their simple understanding, in their remez, and whatever they inference, their drush, whatever hermeneutics we can develop and understand values and ideas coming out, and so to understand the undercurrents of the mitzvos, the goal of the mitzvos. What is it supposed to do to you? As Rambam and Ramban write, that forget all the metaphysical reasons for mitzvos, all the mitzvos, at the end of the day, can and should make you into a better person, a clearer thinker, into an impeccable personality, and they enumerate and explain how different mitzvahs do that. Whether you're talking about the private citizen or the public, the civilization, mitzvahs are there to create a better person and a better society. Oh, they have their metaphysical reasons. I'm not saying it's only that. But there is that which we can understand. The remez, drush, sod. Balakeda writes that in all mitzvos, if God took away the capability of fulfilling them, what he's telling you, I guess you have to delve into the remez, drush, and sod. You have to find out, what do they represent? What is the goal of those mitzvahs that you can comprehend, and focus on that? Because once you focus on that, the Gemara says, Kala osek b'toras olo, whoever focuses and learns the inner dimensions of the korbanot, ki ilu hikriv ola, as if he fulfilled his obligation of bringing a sacrifice. It's very important to me today. I have a hard time dealing with animal sacrifices. Honestly, when I think of the Beis Hamikdash, I always kick it up into some kind of a metaphor, because the idea of skirted priests slitting throats of goats with sprinkling blood on an altar and Levim singing this Mid-Eastern nasal music is not exactly which I'm aspiring to. I prefer Bach, Brandenburg concerts. I prefer davening and hearing about Tefillah. But you know what? I have to delve and understand what the meaning of this is, what the values of that are, and then translate that and apply it to my life today. And that's what I do. And that's why I fulfill the mitzvah of Korbanos. You know, the Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal, has a letter, actually letter 50, in his book Igrot V'Tudot, where he explains what is it that God takes away the capability of doing certain mitzvot. For us, it's the bulk of mitzvahs. We only have 60 out of the 613. And the Ramchal writes that, sorry to say, our attachment to the externalities of religion empty out the deep compassion and connection to the value system which is behind it. We get used to bringing flowers to our wives and we forget that there's an expression of love. And we think we just have to bring flowers. And somehow, I guess, when you bring too many flowers and they don't mean anything anymore, God takes away the flowers. Now focus on the love. It's like the Beis Hamikdash, we became so attached to the externalities of religion. Somehow we forgot this is supposed to be a place of recharging your connection to God, understanding your relationship with God. But as soon as we got so enamored with the externalities, we somehow forgot that. It's like a stale marriage. Well, then God takes away the externalities, and the only thing you have left is focusing on what was for real. Like so many people only appreciate what they have once they don't have it anymore. You know, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Ramchal explains that's why God takes away mitzvos. If you're doing it dryly, I'd rather you focus on the why and the what. ultimately you'll want to do it for real. When you really want to, then you'll get it back. So you see, I'm looking at this mitzvah of Amalek. It's very clear that God took it away from us. As I said before, I'm quite happy actually at the moment. He took it away from us because he wants us to focus on what it really means. He wants me to focus on the remez, drush, and so the inner dimension of this Amalek. The Torah's Amalek. The idea behind Amalek. And if I hate that idea, I would love to eradicate that idea within myself. Well, maybe I will then be able to understand the externalities of the mitzvah. But the mitzvah today, practically, is to destroy Torah's Amalek, the ideology of Amalek. What does it mean to you and to me? Just like the fulfillment of a korban is to learn Torah's korban. Destroying the Torah's Amalek and actually having a venomous relationship with this Torah's Amalek. What is it? What is Amalek? Now the pasuk says, "Mi oivai tichakmeni." We always become wise of what we are by reading the literature of people which don't like us. As a Holocaust survivor's child, I took the time to read Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. Yimach Shemo. There's something intriguing there. Why did he hate the Jews? He saw the Jews as people that embodied an ideology of a certain moral code, which he believed destroyed the natural order of the world, the order of the forest, of the black forest. It empowered the meek. As opposed to the natural order, you go to Kruger Park and you'll understand that the weak succumb and the weak and the meek succumb to the power of the strong, which is the natural order of the world. And humanity has been polluted by this ideology of compassion, value of those who are vulnerable, social order the way we see it today. This is all a product of that ideology of what they called the Bible. He saw the nation of Israel as embodying that idea, not talking about you or me or my grandfather, but us as a nation. The funny thing is, he was right. It's a Ramban in Parshat Ha'azinu which says this. God says that in order for my ideology and my religion and my wisdom to stay vibrant and affect history, I need a nation living, eating, talking, thinking this history. For if the nation ceases to exist, this whole story will end up in mythology. And we will be next to Greek, Norse, Roman mythology. Mythology maybe impresses little children, tells you about history, but does not affect our world today. And if God wants his message to resonate in the world of 2021, he needs a nation living, breathing, talking it, assuring that it will not be kicked into the dustbin of mythology. Well, Mr. Hitler actually wanted to kick this to the dustbin of mythology and wanted to destroy that nation. By the way, the church was next on the list. Now, yes, he fought with us. What he cared about was our ideology. What is it that Amalek wanted? Well, the pasuk says, "Milchama laHashem ba'Amalek midor dor." It is God which is waging war with Amalek generation after generation. And Rashi brings down the pasuk in the end of Parshat B'Shalach, Ki Yod al Keis Ka, hand of God in oath on his throne. Milchama laHashem ba'Amalek midor dor, that there's a generational constant war of God with Amalek. Rashi points out it doesn't say kisei, chair, throne. It says case, kaf samach, without the last letter. It doesn't say yud kei vav kei, the full name of God. It says yud and a hey. Rashi brings the midrash because the throne of God, the kisei, will never be a kisei. And the name of God, Yud with the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, will never be whole. There will be Kaf Samach Kes, Yud Hey Ka. Achi Mochezar Shel Amalek, until Amalek is eradicated. It means to say that the war of Amalek in ideology is the ideology of Kisei and the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. The idea of a throne of God in this world, expressed in the 4 letters of God's name, is what Amalek wants to cut. Let me explain this and how it really focuses on my life and everyone's life. The 4 letters of the name of God represent our understanding of our relationship with God. The Yud, the smallest letter, is perceived in the world of Drush and Kabbalah as the kernel of knowledge, awareness that there is a creator, awareness that there is a God of morals and ethics. The Hey takes that idea and gives it form. You notice a Hey is a Yud, that idea, with a form. We not just know it, we understand it. It's tangible. I really have I really understand, not just know, that there is a God creator and the God of morals and ethics. You know what the Vav is? Now we translate, Vav is like a hook. It's the idea which can be connected to me. This symbolizes moving cerebral understanding into emotional intelligence. The next Hey is the realization of that. I not just think it, I live it, feel it, walk it, and talk it. The name Yud Kei Vav Kei represents the idea that we not only know of a God and know of his values, but they internalize into our psyche and becomes who we are. We live with that awareness, we live with that consciousness. For us, that's what we do. That's who I am. Religion is not just something we believe in. It transforms and defines my identity. It makes me a different person. I have a different Weltanschauung, a different way of seeing things, a different way of talking and walking. It's a bit quite embarrassing because in this era, many people representing religion seem to be sending the wrong message. Not sure they're living it. And I don't want to comment on that because it's very painful. I always say, let's look at what Judaism is supposed to be. Let's look at Judaism not always at its God's representatives. Sometimes I think he should fire his PR company and hire another. But religion, true religion, is to take the Yud and the Hey, the idea of a God, and the total understanding of what that means. V'alachta b'drachav, following his ways, internalizing his ideas and ideals, and becoming totally you. Vav, connecting to that, Hey, and then having that totally understood within your emotional intelligence. Only then will God really be a king. When we look at a king, we look at the embodiment of our national identity. People appreciate Queen Elizabeth, not just as a grand lady, I mean, she is a very fine lady, but she embodies history, national identity. I respect the flag of my country. You respect, I even respect Mandela, Zichron Livracha, not just as a person, but as a historical figure which actually embodied a period of history and the collective identity of the Republic of South Africa. He's much more than just a person. We are supposed to become so much more than just you and me. We're supposed to be the embodiment of God's kingdom. God is supposed to be, we look at God and we see in him our identity. He's our king. We look at those values and they translate who we are. As long as we're not that, as long as I'm a West citizen of the Western world, my world and my values are totally defined by the literature I've read, by the things I have seen, by the music I have heard. Then God's not really my king. He may be my dictator. He may be someone outside of my identity which tells me what to do. We call that a moshel, a commander, a governor. But he's not my king. Broad sense of the king is he embodies my identity. I look at him and I see what I'm supposed to be. Listening to you, I hear the music. All around you, I hear the light. I gather around your feet. That's a king. God's throne will never be real. He will never be a king unless we have Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. We take cerebral religion and translate that into emotional intelligence, the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we talk and react. You know, the greatest challenge I have, a man struggling to be an honest religious person, is exactly that. I have a brain full, and so do so many of us, of religious knowledge. Oh, I can tell you so much, and so can everybody else. There's not been a generation with so much God information to open to everybody like this thing over here today, ever before. So much Torah being taught, so many books being written in so many different languages, so many people learning in yeshivot. Good sakes. Who isn't doing daf yomi or whatever it only be? But how much of that has finally sunk into our emotional self and become who we really are? You know, we say, you remember this old movie by Steven Spielberg, E.T., where you had this extraterrestrial character which had this big blown up head with a razor thin neck and a small emaciated body. That's who I am. I'm E.T. Big blown up head of Torah awareness and knowledge. Somehow it doesn't come down. It doesn't make the corpus of myself who I'm supposed to be. It's a Sisyphean struggle. You go up one step, you fall back two. But you never give up. But the frustration is terrible. Sometimes you want to give up. But the truth is so glaring that you just can't give up. But it hurts. We see so many people, you go to daven, you do this. Have you ever really decided to daven for real? You ever use Shemona Esrei as a medium of really talking to God and meaning it? Or do we time ourselves? Goodness sakes, we have to be out. Rabbi, great speech. 2 minutes too long. That's how we relate to our davening. That's how we relate to everything. It's a terrible challenge that we all suffer from. And if anybody tries to be a bit more real in his religion, he endangers our comfort zone, and we say he flipped out, or other words we use. The greatest thing is we say he's not real, he's just imitating. Because we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in others, and we don't really believe that religion can internalize and become who we really are. The cynicism of this Western world has told me that religion is something nice and external, but I'm defined by other values. No one takes religion seriously as a game changer, as something which should be internalized and become your values. It gets worse when you see people who are perceived as religious and they actually have their values are awkward and definitely don't reflect the Shulchan Aruch and the Torah that they learned. They start looking for segulos, I don't know what. Instead of asking the Shulchan Aruch what to do, they ask some beard with white socks. Yes, it's a challenge. It's a terrible challenge for a religious person that really wants to be religious. You know, Rudyard Kipling wrote a book called Jungle Book. Read it as a kid. The most hated character in that jungle was the monkey called Mowgli. Because Mowgli had no personality, he only reflected the people around him. Somehow you feel, we as Westerners, religion can't make me my own person. At the best, I can externally reflect things written in the Shulchan Aruch. I feel like a monkey. And that's why I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in others. Don't believe in religion. Don't really believe that I can become no more monkey, but a real person. There's a book called Sefer Yetzirah, which says that every month has a letter in the alphabet, which you're supposed to focus on in your avodas Hashem. The month of Adar, the letter is Kuf. Kuf. Which the Satan says, yes, you're a kof, you're a monkey. You're nothing more than external. You're flipping out, but it's not for real. And our battle say, no, I'm not a monkey, I'm not a kuf, I'm not a kof. I'm the kuf of Kedusha. I actually can transcend. I can actually be real. Yizar Kodesh writes that you know what a mullik is? A mullik is what he calls das de tumah. I will explain that. A mullik metaphorically stands on your shoulders and make sure that your head is cut off from the body, so to speak, stifling you by making your neck very, very thin. He does not mind if you spend years in yeshiva and you go to all your services. Oh, he doesn't mind you do the externalities of Judaism. He doesn't mind the yud and the hey. What he does mind, he doesn't want a vav and a hey. He doesn't want that to go through your neck and to become real. He doesn't mind if you're a monkey in your religion. be a regular Western person with its values, and keep religion just something out there that you turn to in trauma. He'll cut away the Yud-Hey from the Vav-Hey. He doesn't mind God being the head of a religious order. He doesn't want him to be a king. He doesn't want us to have our identity in religion. He's cutting away the throne. He's cutting away the second half of the Shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the first half. You know what that is? Can I call it by its name? It's our natural Western cynicism towards the truth of religion, its capability of changing our world, and willing to be part of that. That's why the Midrash calls Amalek Letz. Say Midrash Rabbah in the beginning of Parshat Yitro. Letz takeh. A Letz is not a clown. Letz means cynic. That part of Amalek I relate to. That part of Amalek I hate. I hate myself sometimes for it. I hate the fact that I am in a situation which I've worked so hard. Hey man, I'm in my 71st year, 72nd year. It's actually white. No more hair. That's why I have a big yarmulke. You know, 72 years, 71 and almost a half years of trying to be honest in my religion, and it's still hard. Sometimes I wish God, can you do me a favor? Take the challenge away for one day. I want to feel what it really would be like if this would be real. I'd like to feel one day that Amalek is totally destroyed. I'd like to feel that I don't have to be challenged with them daily with my religious cynicism. I'd like to feel, hey, I suddenly feel my neck widening out and it's pouring down. I want to feel he's not there anymore. Can you give that to me? Just to help me energize myself and go further. And to the extent that you really want it that way, and really pray and you really want it to be eradicated, that memory of that cynicism, and you actually hate that cynicism, you do anything in your possibilities to eradicate that cynicism, well, then God says there's one day a year that I'll help you. If you really hate that Amalekite Torah, and you would really, if you could, you really would eradicate, you do whatever you did, you worked so hard all year, I'm going to actually allow you something which I don't allow all year. I'm going to allow you a certain amount of chemical inducement through wine. If this will enhance that feeling that you're free of Amalek now, that at this stage you feel Ein od milvado, there's nothing except for God and his religion. There are no competing ideologies anymore. And then you're praising God for the bracha through Mordechai, and you're praising God that there is no challenge of Amalek. And as the poskim write, Ad shalayada ben orahom baruch means ad, it means until there and don't lose it. Look at all the poskim in Shulchan Aruch. Because if this inebriation stops your focus on thinking about, wow, Baruch Hama means bracha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Or Hama means terrible and curse is this cynicism, then you haven't done it. You're just drunk. I've seen great people who have Lubavitcher Rebbe, red in the face from his Benedictine, that's what he used to drink, talking the deepest, deepest, deepest secrets of Torah with no inhibitions. Then he just let it go, and he would express his feelings, but they were so special and holy. It was a day he would let go. He let go his restrictions and let out what he always wanted to say. He finally actually said it in the way he said it. I had teachers like that. Those are the people which knew how to fulfill that mitzvah. That's what Purim is all about. Purim is a day of, yes, we have to hate this sense of cynicism, of not believing in religion, not that it can change us, not believing that ourselves, that we can actually be better people, better spouses, better friends, better everything. We can internalize the values of Torah and become profound people, kadoshim to you. I hate to use the word holy because it sounds churchy. We can transcend the mundane. That's what kedusha means. We can become subtle and sublime. Not just thinking the sublime, not just talking the subtle, but becoming that. Purim. That's that part of the mitzvah I can fulfill and honestly want to fulfill. And I really bless us all that, we should live a life of which all year we should be waiting for this Purim. Because I know it's not easy, it's a struggle, and it's great to have a day where God gives you the siyata d'shmaya of connecting to your goals, at least dreaming about them. In that light, in that behavior, that's a very beautiful avodas Hashem of Purim. You're actually worshiping God and worshiping his religion. As my Rebbe Hutner used to tell me, my dear boy used to say, you need 1,000 tons of dot, of intelligence, to lose a bit on Purim. If you don't have it, don't squander it. You need a lot of das, of frustration in religious reality, of your religious development, to let go a bit, to vent it out on Purim. It helps. We should all have a meaningful Purim, a beautiful Purim, and hopefully the day will come which this Amalekite theology will cease in our lives, and we'll no more be cynical of ourselves, of our friends, of our families, and most of all, not cynical about God and his religion. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Purim.
Just a word of thanks to Rav Blachman for sharing such a beautiful but really original message for Purim, which really is a message for life and a message how we should live our Yiddishkeit, with excitement, with passion, and to bring it into our day-to-day lives that's not just rote, but changes our lives as individuals. So a very big thank you to you, Rav Blachman, who always with your innovative style create and bring an original touch to our experience and our understanding, even of subjects that we think we've got an understanding of it. Thank you very much. And to remind everyone that on Monday evening, Rabbi Ken Sparrow will be joining us once again. The topic this Monday evening is a nation that dwells alone. Why does the world pick on tiny Israel with double standards? Thank you to Moy Zulberg for your outstanding work. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a great week, a great Purim, and a great Shabbos ahead. Thank you all very much.